Hi, you're listening to DJ and Ian, and this is Smiles Per Gallon.
All right, so the car of the week for me today is a 2023 991.2 Turbo S 911. Um, this is a car that I don't really see that much in San Francisco. I see a lot of 911s. I really do not see a lot of Turbo S's. And back when I was living in Menlo Park, I actually would see 911 Turbo S's all the time. And so it was a car that I kind of got desensitized towards, and I just didn't really think of it as a cool car anymore. But now that I don't see them, um, it's become more of a cool car again. This particular example was, I think it was a paint to sample color. It may have been like fashion gray, or it was some type of color that was similar to the kind of the Audi Nardo gray that has become like totally corrupted and is now like every automaker has a variant of that color. But on this particular Turbo S, it was a metallic light gray color, but it had more of a darker hue than a lot of the variations of that color have. And so it was a really clean example. It was also like freshly washed, so it was like just so clean. But it had a red interior, so I hated it.
Rough.
Yeah, it was something about red interiors, especially in Porsches, because most of the red interiors are like a full red interior where like even the headliner is red, the top of the dash is red, and it's just like an overwhelming color for me, and I really just do not, I can't stand it. Like it, I think in general red interiors used to be cool to me, and now I just think they're just like garish and out of control, and I just don't think they're attractive. Like I can't think of a single car that has a red interior where I'm like, damn, that looks really good. So that's my car of the week.
That's a pretty good one. Um, you saying that you've been desensitized to 911 Turbo S's makes me laugh as somebody living on the East Coast in Massachusetts, where I'm lucky to see a Cayenne Turbo S. Um, yeah. It was a coupe, right? You said. Yeah, that's that's pretty cool. I mean, that's a fast car. I actually that particular car, 911 Turbo S, is my pick for like if you were like I have this like hypothetical thought a lot of the time, like if I was on public roads and I needed to get from point A to point B as fast as possible on like realistic public roads, like not a racetrack, like so there's going to be some potholes, like I think the 911 Turbo S like might be one of the fastest cars to like realistically get from point A to point B. So,
It absolutely is, and so the GT2 RS is the 911 that has the 911 Turbo S engine, but it's rear wheel drive. So that's the car that you get if you want a rear wheel drive with the maximum amount of power.
mm, that that is a scary proposition.
Yeah, that's a true Widowmaker. It's a 911 with nearly 700 horsepower and rear wheel drive.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, you don't really see a lot. Like I feel like you see a decent amount of like you'll see a GT3 every now and then, or every now and then I'll see one, or like I'll see YouTube videos about them. People will get their hands on them to drive, but like you really don't see a lot of GT2 stuff in general. They're kind of, I mean, is it just so limited? Is that like I would think that's pretty much what's
so
why you don't really see them.
yeah, they always have limited the GT2 RS. I think they've limited it to 1 year of production each time they make it. And so I think that usually works out to around 500 units. Whereas the Turbo S, there's no cap on how many they make. And same with, I think every 911 they make kind of as many as they can, except for like there's a few special edition models like the 911R and other cars like that where they limit production.
And it seems like the GT2 kind of falls a little bit more into that limited camp versus even the GT3, which just, I know they're not really available, but it just seems so much more available than the GT2s.
Even the GT3 RS, I think they make more of than the GT2 RS. I don't think they make a ton of GT3 RSs either, but I do think they make more. It also could just be that the GT3 RS and the GT2 RS are at different price points. I want to say the GT3 RS is maybe 275,000. I would have to look again, but I think the GT2 RS is like 425 or something. Like, I think there's a very significant difference in price between the two.
Yeah, it's almost like a Huracan versus an Aventador.
Right.
It's just like a Huracan is like, again, they're not accessible to 99% of the population, but they're just so much more available and accessible than any Aventador. If you like what you're seeing, leave a comment down below with what you want us to cover next. Now back to the video.
Porsche has been doing this thing where they have a 0.1 generation and a 0.2 generation of each model year that they make. So there's, starting with the 997, which started in 2006, I believe, maybe in 2007. But they had the 997.1 and the 997.2. Then they had the 991.1, then the 991.2. Now they have the 992.1, and there will most likely be a 992.2. And so the point of me saying this is, of every two generations, so 0.1 and 0.2, there's one GT2 RS. But there's usually a 0.1 and 0.2 GT3 and GT3 RS. And so that's another thing that makes the GT2 more rare, is they produce it less frequently than they produce the GT3s.
Do we have a current generation GT2, or is it's yet to be seen?
No. Current generation is on the 992.1, and so there is a GT3 RS, but there's not a GT2 RS, and there likely will not be one until the 0.2 generation.
So it's almost like the send-off. Like once they get all their engineering, they've worked everything out, all the improvements over the generation, that's when they build the GT2 and the GT2 RS. Yeah, I mean, for how Porsche is, for their pros and cons, I think they do service a certain crowd, the people that are super, super into their cars. I think they do service them well in terms of not putting out crap. Like when they put something out, they do really stand behind it, and they put it out for a reason, is the sense I get.
Because I'm such a manual purist, I have always held the Turbo S in a bit of a negative regard because it's an automatic, or it's a DSG. And back in my valet days, I did an event in Monterey Car Week. It was the pinnacle of my valet career, and this was on an airstrip. I don't remember the name of the event, but it was at an event that was near an airstrip, and we parked all the valet cars on this airstrip. And essentially the way it was all of the cars were parked in this long line, and then to get to some of the cars down at the end of the line, you had to drive all the way one way, turn left, like basically turn two lefts and come all the way back. And it just so happened that the car I picked was a 911 Turbo S, and I had to drive it all the way back down and then turn around and drive it all the way back. And so naturally, you can guess what happened next. I didn't turn the launch control off because I'm not that irresponsible, but I absolutely floored it, and it was absolutely terrifying. And immediately when I got to like the part where you like go out of the airstrip and onto the main road, um, several guys walked up to me and were like, "Don't ever do that again."
Is is the Turbo S all-wheel drive only?
Yes.
Did you break traction or
No, I didn't.
stayed buckled? That's good. Hey, thanks for watching the episode. Subscribe for more.